Donald Trump endorses against RINOs in the Texas House. It's February 20th, 2024, and these are your headlines. To be clear, the RINOs, that's his word. I'm just reporting on what he said. But as early voting started today, and maybe you've cast your ballot already, but it started today in the Republican primary elections in Texas, former President Donald Trump has now issued a series of endorsements of candidates running for the Texas legislature. In a series of posts on True Social today, Trump revealed the endorsements, which included 4 challengers to incumbent members he called RINOs, or Republicans in name only. Those candidates include Mike Olcott, who's challenging Representative Glenn Rogers in House District 60, Helen Kerwin, who's challenging Representative Dwayne Burns in House District 58, Alan Schoolcraft, challenging State Representative John Kemple in House District 44, and Liz Case, who's challenging Stan Lambert in House District 61 in Abilene. Trump gave his complete and total endorsement to each candidate, citing their opponents' votes to impeach Attorney General Ken Paxton and their opposition to school choice as reasons for doing so. In addition to those House endorsements, Trump also endorsed Brent Hagenbu for the open Senate District 30 seat, being vacated by retiring Senator Drew Springer. The latest round of endorsements comes just a few weeks after Trump endorsed David Covey, who's challenging House Speaker Dade Phelan in his home district, House District 21. Early voting is ongoing in the Republican primary through March 1st. Election Day is March 5th. A 2021 decision by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals that took the power to prosecute election fraud out of the state attorney general's hands, well, it's become a major issue in the Republican primary election for 3 of the court seats. A little bit of background. In an 8-1 decision back in December of 2021, the Court of Criminal Appeals, which is Texas' highest court on criminal matters, said that a state law granting the attorney general the power to unilaterally prosecute election cases is unconstitutional, as they argued that the attorney general is not given the express authority to do so by the Texas Constitution. Under the state constitution, criminal prosecution is specifically assigned to local district and county attorneys. The attorney general had argued that a provision in the Constitution granting him the authority to perform such other duties as may be required by law allowed him to exercise prosecutorial authority granted by statute. The Court of Criminal Appeals, they disagreed, holding that clause did not expressly permit the statutory grant of power, and therefore the separation of powers provision of the Constitution prohibited it. Attorney General Ken Paxton vocally disagreed with the decision at the time, saying that now Soros-funded district attorneys would have the sole power to decide whether election fraud has occurred in Texas. He later asked the court to rehear the decision. Well, they didn't. And now, nearly 3 years later, 3 of the court's 9 members are up for re-election. Those would be Sharon Keller, Barbara Hervey, and Michelle Slaughter. All 3 voted to strip the AG of prosecutorial power in election fraud cases, maintaining that their stance is the originalist position. Each of the 3 incumbents has received money, by the way, from the Texans for Lawsuit Reform PAC, an organization that has opposed Paxton. In return, Paxton has endorsed primary challengers to each member. Those are David Schenck, Gina Parker, and Lee Finley.
Are you worried about your kid's future? You should be. I'm Charles Blaine with Texas Tomorrow. This is a show where we're going to talk about the issues and the people that are pushing the policies that concern your family, your home, and your kids. Catch Texas Tomorrow every Thursday.
Lastly, according to a new poll released by the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas at Austin, 74% of Republican voters in Texas agree that the sheer number of illegal aliens crossing the southern border is a crisis. The survey said while 3/4 of Republicans consider the number of migrants attempting to cross the border a crisis, and another 11% consider it a very serious problem. Additionally, the poll also shows that 20% of Democrat voters believe that illegal immigration into Texas constitutes a crisis, and another 37% believe that while it's not a serious problem, or while it is a serious problem, it is not a crisis. The poll also analyzed whether or not Texas voters overall believe strict actions should be taken to secure the border. 66% support deploying the military to the border, 65% support building a border wall, 60% believe it should be made a state crime for illegal aliens to be in Texas, 57% think buoys and wire fences should also be used to curb illegal border crossings, and 55% support paying bus companies to transport illegal aliens out of the state. Interestingly, 41% of Texas voters also support preventing southern border access by Border Patrol, as we've seen happen in Eagle Pass. According to the poll results, partisan differences and attitudes toward border security policies have diminished somewhat with gradual shift in Democrats' view of the urgency of the increased numbers of migrants crossing or attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. The Texas voters were also asked if they believe illegal aliens in the state of Texas should be deported immediately. Get this, 58% of voters agreed, with only 37% disagreeing. When it comes to Republican voters specifically, 91% believe that Texas should continue to erect physical border security obstacles, such as repairing and/or building the wall. Meanwhile, 90% of GOP voters believe that additional military and state police forces should be deployed to protect state sovereignty at the border. For more of today's stories, head to TexasScorecard.com.